Welcome back to the Nothing But Fortnite podcast. On today's episode, we will be grading the performances of teams from the first big week of Compared to Fortnite. Compared to Fortnite's back. We are back. We had the Reload Elite Series first final. We had the first divisional cup of the season. And teams are performing. Teams are overrated. Teams are underrated. We're sleeping on some people. We got some new goats rising. And so, on today's show, myself, Boop, and the wonderful Kinch Analytics will be giving teams grades on how they fared in the first weekend of Compared to Fortnite of the year. It's not the actual first weekend, but we're calling it the first weekend of Compared to Fortnite because it's now tournaments we actually care about.
Of course.
Sounds
I'm
good.
sure this won't be controversial at all, you know?
Yeah, these are always quite controversial. But
I care about rank ups. I care about them a lot.
Oh, yeah, we've heard.
It's the only thing I can place top 1,000 in.
Damn. Oh, well, there's one Division 1 player here at least, so don't worry. I'll give my insight from a competitive point of view. It is interesting that we're the Fortnite, Nothing But Fortnite after dark right now, because, like, everyone's just, you know, in the dark rooms currently. It is late for everybody.
True. This is the first time we've recorded the podcast past 3 p.m. in, like, ever, probably. Outside of, like, some of the random interviews we did with players late night, yeah, we've never recorded this late. But it's fine. All right. The first team who I want to get your thoughts on, boys. Peterbot and Pollo.
Who would have thought?
The return of Peterbot to the top level of Compared to Fortnite. They started the weekend with a big performance, qualifying for the Reload Elite Series championship LAN at EWC, come in second place, and then had a bit of a stinker in the divisional Cash Cup the next day. Where did they end up finishing? Let me actually check. They finished 11th.
Yee.
Not the best performance from them.
No.
What would be your grade for Peterbot's weekend?
Are we saying 1 to 10 or A, B, C, D, E, F, G?
We're going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G grades.
Is there an S?
There is a F. It's just A. It's just A.
Okay, just
A
A
plus
okay.
A, B, C, D, E, F.
I will. My personal grade for them will be a C minus.
Interesting.
C minus. Could be worse. I can't lie.
Okay. Do you want to go into some of the whys?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the reload weekend was pretty good, and I think if you're, you know, tapped into Fortnite competitive and not, you know, biased on Twitter, then you could understand why you would expect a Pete and Pollo to do well at a reload, right? It's a game that doesn't require much preparation, and to some extent, it's pretty much fragger heavy. It's running a box fighting. It's basically everything that embodies Peterbot and Pollo. Is like they're good fighters. They can make shit happen. They'll frag their way through a lobby and do well. They did almost not qualify. It went down to a tiebreaker, I believe, at the end of it. So, you know, still things to be improved there. But in terms of going into the weekend, I think those with the ear close to the ground would have realized that it's not a very easy meta to play currently for Peterbot and Pollo. You know, we've got jetpacks, which are quite RNG heavy. Even teams that are practicing and VOD reviewing still struggle to find good jetpack rotations. And also, new Storm Surge is a big factor, which we saw affect them quite a lot, mainly because of the jetpacks as well, that, you know, they were taking a lot of damage in the mid game. So if you watch them play this weekend, you could tell that they looked a little bit rough. They looked a little bit, you know, under-prepared and under-practiced. Like the first two games, you know, it was a jetpack play in, I believe, 7th zone that killed Pollo twice, and then Pete had to solo clutch. And of course, in this meta, it's a little bit harder to solo clutch now as well. So that's why it's a C minus. Could even be a D, honestly, just depending on your expectation. The only reason I'm putting it as a C is because I didn't expect them to do that well. I wasn't blinded by these tournaments don't matter type of bullshit, you know? Like, we all know they kind of matter now. It's not bad, though. Like, there's room to improve. Like, it's something they can learn. We can cope on it's not an FNCS meta yet, but it was quite obvious that they were a little bit lost in set stat lobbies, which can only be improved with playing the game more.
Kinch, you often have different perspectives from Boop and myself specifically, which is why I love to hear from you. Do you fall on this side of actually we maybe need
I'm nowhere near Boop here as usual. Nowhere near.
Where do you stand?
I
Where
nailed
do you
it.
fall?
I'm grading them with a B.
Okay.
I think there were two tournaments this weekend, but one of them mattered like 20 times more than the other. One of them's the first Div Cup of the season. It's going to be like who knows how many Div Cups before FNCS Major even starts. And the other one was to qualify for the biggest reload tournament of the year, the LAN. And there were only two spots, and they got one of them. So I don't see how we can regard that as anything but a good achievement. Of course, it's Peterbot. Sometimes he wins tournaments with 900 points, and he didn't this time. He only just scraped into the qualification, but second out of all the NA duos is honestly never a bad result for anybody. And like overall, I don't think anybody should be concerned about their performance in the Div Cups, really. I know they kind of care probably that they came 11th. They would like to have won, but realistically, they're not expected to be that locked in at this stage. Like we're in a season that's not even FNCS major season. The meta's going to change. So it's like, is there that much value in spending extra hours, studying, designing your own game plan for Battle Royale right now when they could be firstly qualifying for Reload, which they did, and just keeping themselves fresh, ready for the actual majors?
It's so interesting to me because I remember that week, right? The week before we had Reload, and I think they did well in the eval, like they won a game or something, and you had a bunch of people just going, yeah, they're back. This is it. You guys thought they were dusted. Yeah, they know how to play the meta. Look, they clearly know how to play the meta. Obviously, there were things that changed, right? Obviously, I think in between then and was the slurp change already in the game at that point? Were there still slurps in the eval they won? I can't remember.
The day that it was changed, probably.
Right.
Yeah, usually Evo days are the days that the meta changes, so that makes sense.
But even outside of that, right? Like, I sort of looked past that, and I remember when you asked us on the pod, Boop, I said I didn't think they were going to win that first eval. Anyway, like I didn't think they were going to win. I thought it was going to be people think that they're back because of a decent eval cup.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit rocky, and they won't win the first eval, and then things will proceed as regular as time goes on, and that sort of played out. I'm with Boop. I don't know if I said we can do plus minus. I'd actually give them a B plus. People might say I'm glazing. I'm low-key on the verge of wanting to give them an A minus, purely from a narrative perspective. Their performances weren't spectacular, right? Even with the Reload, right? It was a nail-biter. Super entertaining, by the way. What an entertaining final that NA Reload final was, right? And that sort of final finish coming to the last game.
Yeah.
Their performances were not exceptional. They were not A plus standard, whatever, like the standard you accept for them or expect for them. But as far as looking at the narrative of Peterbot and how his journey has been so far this year, this weekend was the perfect scenario. You call for the Reload land, get that out of the way, and now you can just piss about like until then. Like it does. Like had they not qualified for Reload, right? Especially Pete, you can obviously make this argument for almost anyone who doesn't call. Oh, this is going to be pressure. There's going to be people going, "Are you going to make it? Are you going to make it?" Had Pete and Pollo not qualified, oh my goodness, the narratives that would have been spun after that. It would have just been Falcons just signed Pollo for nothing. They're not even going to qual now. Oh my god,
300K buyouts,
right? Like it would have been insanely bad for them from a narrative perspective and like the fan pressure. I think them scraping it by 1 point, right? They called for Reload by 1 point, and the limit's like 3 points. Like it was so close. Them scraping it, it's like. It's like in a football comparison context, it's like the biggest smash and grab. It's like you take that and you run away with it. And for them specifically, I think that's exactly what they needed this weekend. And so the dud in Div Cup the next day, I think maybe I probably weigh that a bit more negatively than Kinch does, in the sense of like, I think at least from what I saw, from the games I saw, what worried me was they clearly still feel quite uncomfortable about how to play with this new surge, right? Like, like you said, Boop, in Reload, they felt comfortable to just be themselves, and what we saw from them a couple of years back. Whereas
straightforward.
right? It's so straightforward when you don't have to worry about Surge. I think it's still a weird balance for them in BR, and that does scare me for the future for them. But I think for those two specifically, how I'd grade I think it's a great weekend. Like, the qual means so much more for them than I think any other team in the world right now. And so, for me, I'd give them a B+. But let us know why we're so wrong. Everybody has such polarizing opinions on Pete and Pollo and where they stand in the scene. I'm sure there'll be many people who agree with Boop and that it was a disgraceful showing from them. I'm sure there'll be people who agree with
because my
Kinch.
expectations are so high for them, you know?
Naturally.
Yeah.
As they should be, because it's Pete and Pollo at the end of the day. That's what you expect. The next team who I want to give you guys the chance to grade. Maybe we'll go back and forth here. We'll do an EU team. Sky and Scroll. Probably the most on-form team in EU, or maybe even in the world, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Mr. Kinch, I'll come to you first. What's the grade for Sky and Scroll? Second place in reload to qualify for the LAN.
Are you looking at stats of your second Mondo? You keep looking over there, like he's got like the simulations running at the same time and everything.
Second place for them in reload, and obviously
That's
first
cheating.
place in the Div Cup.
Just gotta trust your gut on this one.
I mean, this is just an easy A+, isn't it? Like,
I think it's
you say A because they didn't win reload. Okay, whatever. They came second. Like, that's more than good enough. I think, these are players that nobody has low or average expectations of anymore due to their performances in the last week, especially, but just like generally over the last few months. I think, last year people were like, rising stars. They never quite made it to the top, I guess. They were consistently getting in every final. I think they had some top 10s in FNCS and stuff, but they never really challenged for any big wins. But over the last few months, I think they've impressed everyone enough that people expect them to challenge for wins now. And I mean, that's not easy to do, but they've done it. Like, literally, Scroll won the solo series, didn't he? And then Reload second, Div Cup final first. It's just like a crazy run of results for them, really. And it's not just luck. Like, you can just see how they're doing it with their play style, with their with the statistics they're producing. Like, it's just the data's backing them up that they're basically playing as good as anybody else and maybe even better. So A+.
The data checks out. Scroll, it's funny, a year ago, this man was scrolling through his builds and shit, and since actually swapping to his binds, I feel like he's gone through a enormous transformation as a player. Like, he was really good, but now he's actually now active on good binds again. I agree. I don't think you can get much better of a weekend than Sky and Scroll. It is nice that they've stuck together for longer than 3 months. Shout out Sky. He's been continuously dropping poor Scroll, but Scroll's been proving himself now. You can't get better than this weekend, right? They're always a team that you're never gonna put as you're never gonna be like, okay, Sky and Scroll gonna win FNCS, because they'll just be there and just survive. And if you
They're
see them
moving
in the top
that direction.
they are. But they're not like the big names that they're not known as the big names yet. So they're a team where Sky and Scroll got third in FNCS. That makes sense, they're really good. But it's are they of that FNCS winning caliber? We don't know yet, because I had this conversation with Short Contini as well. It's when is the right time to peak in this game? A lot of the times, a lot of teams, a lot of the bigger pros peak towards the end at FNCSs, and then they just disappear in Div Cups, akin to a Queasy, Swizzy, Mustache, invisible, and then they win a LAN all of a sudden. So that's a team that's interesting to me, is how they'll be on the larger stage. They've already made the global ones, so. But yeah, how could you say anything but an A+ for this? They qualified reload, they won the Div Cup, Scroll won solos. It could only get worse, which is a funny thing to say, because it's usually the opposite, but it can only get worse for them. So
it can only get worse. I'm gonna go out on the jump, and of course agree with you guys on the A+ is there. I'm gonna go on the jump and actually combat you and say I do think they are of that level and of that caliber, and I do now consider them in. When I'm thinking who are the FNCS winners, who are the big boys. The reason why I'm at the point now where I feel so confident to put them there is you obviously have this young team who has been competing for a couple of years now, right? Like we were talking about Sky and Scroll in duos in 2024, a lot of the time in EU. You have a team that they obviously had LAN experience because they made it to LAN that year. Last year, Kint, you highlighted how it wasn't the greatest year, right? Because obviously they didn't make globals, but they were, they had at different points in the year they were contending, right? A lot of people forget Major 1. A lot of people were predicting them to just win with iDrop, right? Like a lot of people were like, yeah, the setup looks great for them. Like they should just win FNTS, and they were on crazy form. And I remember they crumbled and it fell apart. And I think I look at that journey and I look at a team who, or two players at least, because it's not trios anymore, but two players who have come close to winning in FNTS or have been in touch and distance and were a team that were considered of that level. And the fact that they went through that down period throughout last year and have come out of it stronger, and individually they're both looking good. Like, I might be getting this mixed around, but on both days where they had impressive performances, I was more impressed with one of the others. Like, I think on Reload Day, I was more impressed with Scroll, and I was like, damn, Scroll is crazy. And then on Div Cup Day, I was like, Sky is unbelievable. So it's like both of them are just in great form right now, to the point where I'm like, yeah, like if I'm mentioning who I think is winning FNCS in EU next season, have to put them in there. Have to consider them of that level. And I can't. And also, and that's like a bit of like a Captain Obvious take, right? Because they've been so good. But I mean it just from the perspective of like, like when people are like the obvious names, right? Of like who you expect to win, and like people who you'd be surprised if they didn't do good. Like they are in that category now for me, where like I just have to, put them in those conversations. So great weekend for Sky and Scroll. Looking forward to seeing it translate to more meaningful things, and looking forward to seeing how they do, at LAN. Another opportunity at LAN for them. Hopefully one of 3 LANs we see them at least this year.
For sure.
So that should be fun. Back over to NA. Our good friends, Clix and Higgs. An interesting weekend for Clix and Higgs, right? Because they start the weekend with Reload and unfortunately just look off of it, right? They finished 4th. Clix moment. They finished 4th, but they just don't really look like competing with some of the others as far as like winning, right? And to be fair, there was a moment in that last game where I think they were the last duo alive of all the teams, and I was like, oh my gosh, could they have a bit, like, if they win the game, is it enough? And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, it was Richie versus Clix in the final game in moving zones, and Clix was a solo.
Yes. Well, that was in actually, you're right. You're right.
Because there was a crazy solo situation for Ajers. Was it Ajers?
It was Ajers, yes.
Yes, where he was just in a cone full with like 30 HP.
Yes.
And then he shoots a guy, and it wasn't the guy who was meant to shoot, and he kills a guy that falls from the heaven. Like it's crazy the luck that I'll be honest, it was kind of lucky that they won from that situation, but for Clix and Higgs.
No, that was Div Cup. I'm remembering.
Oh, you're talking about Reload?
Yeah, I'm talking about Reload.
Sorry, I was talking about Div Cup. Yeah. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I was saying in Reload they were a bit off the pace, right? And it didn't. I was going to say
because they got second in Div Cup, not
and Div Cup's got
fourth.
second. Yeah. Some of the viewers now are like, what are these guys? They've already been typing their comments about how we're so wrong. Thankfully,
what the fuck are they talking about, man? Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like okay, so Reload was a bit off of it, just like anonymous a bit. 4th place Clix, haha, funny. Div Cup. After the Reload, Div Cup, I think people were going into it going, they've been found out, mate. It's real competitions are here now, and they're not shining how they once were. And Recent I think, was it Recent I or was it you and I, Boop? Me and one of the other two here on our show predicted them to win Div Cup last week.
I think it was me and you, because Reese said someone else, I think.
Yes.
And I think he said Pete.
He might
Glazer.
Right. And we were getting abuse on social media, naturally, as we always do.
That's why they're watching us, Levin. Yeah?
Right.
Come on now.
But we were getting abuse, and there was people going, anybody saying Clix and Higgs can win at Div Cup has not been watching Fortnite. Like, you just don't know what you're talking about. And I'm sat there watching them in what first place in the last game, like going, I guess I don't know what I'm talking about then. And it's a shame. I've never wanted Clix to win so much. Like, I was so ready to just screenshot it and just be like, I guess I don't know what I'm talking about, and reply to every single comment that was flaming us. But unfortunately, it went tits up and Clix couldn't clutch. So I didn't get my moment of retribution. But I will say, I'll give my grade first on this one because I've gone deferred to you two on the others. I'll say for me, I felt like this weekend for them was I'm going to actually give them a B plus as well. For the reason that I think obviously Div Cup went well, they would have wanted to win and they were in a position to win. And so when it falls apart like that, right, they get pushed by Peterbot and Pollo in that last game, take them out and you're like, this is happening. They're going to win. It's going to be so amazing. Unfortunately, Higgs goes down, Clix has a solo clutch and he can't get the job done. It ended kind of sour, but it was a good performance and it showed that even with some of the meta changes, they are still one of the better teams in BR for NA. Reload, a bit off the pace, 4th place. I'm not as worried because what ended up coming out of the weekend was all I've seen from Clix and Higgs is clips of them both going, it was last weekend was my bad, I'm ready to work harder. I'm ready to work hard. And I'm like, if we can go from now, with already how well they've been doing in the off-season period, if the mentality now from both of them is like, we have to go even harder with FNCS coming, I think whatever happened this weekend was a good thing. Like, there's a world where they do really well this weekend or even better this weekend, and there's an element of complacency. Similarly, from like a narrative point, like I gave with Peterbot and Pollo, where winning now and being able to get out was great for them. I think not winning for Clix and Higgs this weekend is equally as good for them in giving them that extra boost to keep going, while still putting on like decent performances, right? Like in BR, like they looked really good. So for me, I'm gonna say B plus. Good weekend in the office. One that they won't be satisfied with, but for good reason.
Yeah. I'd say there was a little bit more external factors to the placements as well. I think in Reload specifically, they were just getting keyed by Pete every single game. And of course, in the last game as well, Peterbot would also try to grief them a little bit as well. So there was a bit of a rivalry brewing that, I mean, that was already there, but it's even more brewing now, which, makes it a little bit more enjoyable. So I'd probably put them at an A-. I'll put them a little bit there because I think they probably would have just won the tournament if Ajers didn't get lucky. Like, you have to watch this. I have it on my TikTok. It's like, it's the craziest clip. He's in the cove with 30 HP, and then I say like he needs a miracle, and then someone just fucking throws a med mist underneath him. He gets shield, shoots a guy in front of him rotating. Some guy falls in front of him. Not the guy he meant to shoot, but some random guy killed in front of him. He gets the kill, and that's enough placement points to qualify and win the tournament. So there was a little bit of a higher power, essentially, here to make Clix not win. And then obviously Reload, they were getting griefed a little bit. But I agree. I like the mindset going into it, and that was actually an interesting thing where I think a lot of people were looking, and they were trying to team blame Clix of like his performance compared to Higgs, because Higgs is looking very primed up and very, very good. But Clix actually out-damaged and I think out-eliminated him in that Div Cup. So I think that was a little bit of retribution and a little bit of proving wrong there for him, which I think was nice for him in that situation. And then still having the mindset being like, yeah, that was my bad. I played shit that tournament. And there were mistakes that they made that they shouldn't have made as well, especially one of the games they were jetpacking and just hit their head and died in Storm as a duo in first moving zone. So the mentality is good. But I'll probably give them an A- because I think there's place to be improved, but I think it wasn't entirely their fault that this weekend went awry.
Yeah, I think with Higgs' recent performances, his stocks have always been rising, especially winning the solo series and all. So now there's like a bit of a belief going around that Higgs can't be the problem, right? Because he won solos, he's the best player. Therefore, if something goes wrong, they're looking at Clix first. So there might be a little bit of that going on. I would like to give my theory of why Clix doesn't win tournaments on NA, right?
Let's hear it.
I think it's basically because they're primarily a low ground team, right? Now, low ground can win tournaments. You can play really consistently and everything. We've seen it plenty of times on EU, but I think a lot less on NA. that this happens. And that's because you have some really crazy height teams on NA. Any team that Acorn's in or Peterbot's in, they're going to be having a lot of height. They're going to be winning games. They're going to be getting a ton of elims in some games. So to win from low ground, you're basically relying on them kind of cancelling each other out. You're hoping that the height teams, that none of them actually just dominate the whole tournament. And then the only way the low ground team wins is if they just share out everything, and the high team share everything and grief each other out of the games. And then Clix has the chance. So I think that might be partly why he doesn't win so many tournaments, despite getting a ton of top fives. But yeah, the potential is still there to win it. It just feels a little bit like they're relying on other teams to not pop off. If you get what I mean.
Yeah. It's interesting because I had a conversation with Reese on the broadcast where we talked about, at least in Reload, how we thought low ground teams might have a better time just with the nature of shockwave meta and just being able to just like avoid the craziness of that. And so I'd be interested to like go back and watch some of their games as far as like, one, how much were they getting griefed when they were making it to end games playing low ground, and also in regular BR, what do their games look like as far as like just kill power and like eliminations and like being able to make up the difference of like, the big winning games with that. Because it's funny, I remember we sort of got into, we were getting more abuse boop the other day when I think we said something like, I think iDrop said like Higgs would be an average fighter on EU.
Oh yeah.
And like we were like, yeah, like that's common sense.
Makes
and,
sense.
Like, people
Yeah,
were like just flaming it, But yeah, because it's weird. I think as far as like kill power goes, by comparison to a lot of the other top NA teams, they don't necessarily like stand out, right? And so it's like what you're saying ends up being the case, Kinch. So
they're kind of Sky and Scroll. You don't know what makes them good, but they are just good, Yeah.
Okay, so like I hear people say this. I might just have to make a video. I'm gonna make a video about Sky and Scroll now.
We need a Sky and Scroll VOD of you.
Yeah, no, I feel like I used to agree with this, and then I just actually started watching it because, look, let's be honest. In Fortnite competitive, unless you are working the broadcast, or you are a coach, most people cannot and are not watching every team, right? Most teams, you are just seeing them on the leaderboard and seeing Kinch tweet stats about them every week, and that's it. And for the longest time, Sky and Scroll were just that team, and I feel like most people were saying the whole like you don't know what's good about them because it's true, because we just weren't watching them, because like it was like you're not gonna watch Sky and Scroll. I think once you watch Sky and Scroll, it becomes more obvious what makes them good. So I think I'm going to make a video about that.
It's funny how the broadcast does influence that a lot, though, right? Like,
True.
we had that with Vanya, Vanya, Pixie, and Maris. He's like, they're the most boring team in Fortnite because you just see them on height in the broadcast and you don't see how they got to that point. So maybe we've got to focus a little bit more on them this year for the broadcast.
We definitely do. Yeah, Vanya, it didn't help with Vanya's cheer, though, because it was either they were on height and we missed the height take, or it was early game and they're trading surge in the time. So...
Damn.
Wasn't much to watch there. They weren't the only ones. Just saying. Okay, our next team. Who should we do? Demus and Darm. The T1 duo had a rough weekend. I think a lot of people had them in their top threes in EU to qualify. Their situation looked good. Mid-map, uncontested. Yeah. Again, they've been signed by T1. They got Sven working with them. Everyone's just looking at them as almost like, if you're not backing Sky and Scroll as the new team on the block, it's got to be Darm and Demus, right? New teams may be an unfair term here, but you know what I mean. And it just didn't quite pan out for them at all. In Div Cup, they ended up 13th. In Reload, where did they place?
Ninth.
Just mediocre. Mediocre for a team who many people expected to secure a spot at the championship LAN. Where do you guys fall? What's the grade they get for last weekend?
I'm gonna take a page. I'll go ahead, Kinch.
Yeah, you go. Oh, me? Okay.
No, you go.
First. I'm just gonna say I didn't see them play. Like they were just anonymous in these tournaments. So like how can I
True.
grade them other than on their placements, which didn't live up to expectations?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just got to be something like a D, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, props to them that we expect so much. What is it like one year since their first FNCS final?
Yeah.
Just a few months longer than that, that people actually started first hearing their name. Um, so yeah, they've done great things in the last year, and yeah, it's just a bit of a shame they haven't kicked on this year so far. But
Yeah.
early days yet.
It is interesting. A lot of the times when we talk about transitions from like trios to duos, a lot of times we see the teams that do well in only trios or only duos. Um, that hasn't really been the case as much for this duo. Like they've had their glimpses of performances and potential. I think in the heats they were looking like an unstoppable force. Unfortunately, in the finals, I'm gonna take a page out of Teddy's book here. They were T1 faker. So, yeah, that's a League of Legends joke.
Hey, that was
They were
good.
looking
That
a bit
was good.
fraudulent. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, they were looking a bit
Yeah.
fraudulent in the finals. In the heats, it looked very good. Whether it's potentially they were in the weaker heat or something like that, or the nerves kind of got to them, which I don't think is the case because they performed incredibly at the LAN. Yeah, I'd probably put it around the same mark, probably a D as well, because they had an uncontested mid-map drop. Like that's the bread and butter. You had a team to your south, Vico and Marius fighting each other for free eliminations as well. It should have been better, and they didn't perform. So there'll be a team that I think that does get back and they'll Vodaview and they get a lot better. There is progression with that team. It's a Polish team. They always evolve throughout the year. But yeah, they didn't. They weren't up to par this weekend.
Yeah. I think I agree with most of what you guys have said there. A question before I guess we moved on. Are we too high on them, right? Have their expectations ever been this high for a team who's just had one real year of competition? In the case of like, oh, we lost Kinch for a second there. Oh, we got him back. Oh yeah, you're back. Oh, what
Wait,
the
what is
hell
this?
is this?
What is this
What
Five Nights
the
at Freddy's
hell?
shit that just happened?
What the hell was that? That was so trippy, bro. What?
Wait, are we testing out the AI programming for Harry's return? Like we got AI like Kinch coming in.
What on earth?
Is he real?
Okay, I mean, that's fine.
It works for me. Yeah.
That really just tripped me up. I was like, oh, he's gone, and then he's not gone.
It got very light all of a sudden as well.
Okay. Where was I? Yeah, have the expectations ever been this high for a team who has just really 1 year under their belt? And also a team that like 1 year under their belt, and it's not like they won in that year. Like they just had like really good results. But yeah, everybody has them really, really high and expects so much more from them. Are we almost unfair?
Nah, I don't think so. Not for me personally. I don't think I was rating them like crazy highly, just mainly because of the performance of Heats. Like I said, like the transition from trios to duos is always going to be a tough one, especially for newer teams. With the tier 1 pros, they always are able to, the reason why they're so long standing is because they're able to adapt from meta to meta. So I thought this was something that was going to happen. You see it potentially with Pix. He's struggling with that transition from their trio as Kinch has now been eliminated. I think they need a little bit more time to cook, and we'll see how they progress on from here. Again, it's one of those things like I don't know I don't know too much about them. It's a hard one to put into words for them. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
Returned.
That makes sense. Welcome back, Kinch.
Back on my other camera again, magically.
Yeah, back on that one. This one's an interesting one. We're gonna go back to NA, and I want to know your thoughts on Ritual and Ajers. Ritual and Ajers started off the weekend pretty poorly with reloads, didn't do much at all, weren't of any significance, and they go into the Divisional Cup and win the damn thing. And Ajers obviously looks like La Ajers again. Ritual's feeling confident. Probably the most mixed bag I think we saw of any team over the course of the weekend as far as like hot and cold performance.
This is a duo with the two players on an A that get most overlooked, right? Basically, if you look at last year, I mean, I think you look at last year's trios and stuff, we all know it's ritual this, ritual that, can't keep up with his
Yeah.
The Pete
teammates.
propaganda.
And then Ajers is just like, oh, well, Acorn is the genius IGL of NA. So Ajers is just the guy that tags along, Sure, he's a fragger and he's good, but, he's just another guy in a lot of people's minds. So putting these two together is quite interesting to me. It's almost like you got two players who are not rated as high as a lot of the other top NA duos, but obviously their accolades are almost equal to everyone else, apart from like Pete with his 50 FNCS wins in the last 2 years or whatever. But like the two of them have kind of they both have multiple FNCS wins in the last few years, so it's like got to watch out for them and keep our ratings of them pretty high. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep up, I guess, during this FNCS season with the likes of Peterbot, Cold, Acorns teams. Impressive start in the Div Cup.
What would your grade be? Yeah, I was going to say, so what would your grade be?
Overall grade, an average of 2, I guess. An average of A, I guess we have to give them an A+ for the Div Cup, really. I mean, they're kind of, I mean, they didn't easily win or anything, and it came down to that last game thing. But at the same time, you can't say anything bad when they're right up there challenging for the win and then end up winning it.
Yeah.
And then you average that with an E, and we give them a C overall. I mean, reload was pretty important this weekend, so they definitely have to be downgraded for that.
I feel like that's a broadcast bias. I don't know. For me, reload just like it's not the main game mode, but it's cool too.
You're saying this now. In a year and a half, reload Fortnite competitive will be
that
reload
is
first.
Fortnite competitive, that's the transition.
And second, mate. So don't you talk like this.
True.
I agree with what you said, Kinch, but I want to factor in one more thing that I don't think you considered, which is going to boost them in my eyes. And I'm going to say it was a B-. After reload, they obviously did really badly, but Cold and Rapid won, which qualified them. This duo's biggest problem in my eyes is the potential for Rapid to say to Ajers, hey, we should play, right? Like, Rapid's been on fire, and we're going to talk about Rapid in a second. I think the only thing that could split this duo up realistically, outside of Pete wanting to split with Pollo, which I just don't see happening, in my mind right now would be like Rapid trying to split them up via taking Ajers, because I don't see a world where Ritual ever drops Ajers. Like, you just don't drop Ajers. He's like the third best player you can have on the region, as far as like Pete, Cold, Ajers, in my head at least. And so had Rapid and Cold not qualified, them dudding in reload, them would have been even bigger of a problem in my eyes, because it's like, it would just be another piece of ammo for like Rapid to be like, hey man, like, let's just run it out, bro. We can call land. We can, I mean, like, it would just be an even bigger problem for them. So I'm going to use that to bump them higher, even though that's technically not on them. Like, they do, that's actually not like their doing. It's just, it makes the weekend slightly better for them, I think. Or at least better for Ritual, because this is all talking from Ritual's POV.
Yeah.
And that paired with the fact that, like, had they done bad in BR the next day, on top of doing bad in reload, it would have just been even worse, I think. Like, you can't... I think when you are playing, and we're going to see this become a problem for Veno, who has now moved to NA, shout out to my brother. When you're playing with Peterbot, Cold, Ajers, like one of those three, and I do put those three in like similar categories, sort of more 1A, 1B with Peter and Cold, and then 2 for Ajers in my mind, if people are curious. But when you're playing with players of that caliber, you can't have bad events. Like, the second you start having bad events, it's just like, just count your days, man. Like, you're in trouble. And so if you're Ritual, like, you guys, and Ritual understands this and knows this because he played with Peterbot for a year, right? But it's like, you have to be like top 3 in everything. Otherwise, it's like, there's going to be somebody behind your back trying to pull one of them away from you, you know? And so the win in the Div Cup does wonders for them as far as keeping them together and hopefully giving them that boost going into their next reload. And so for that reason, I think it's overall a good weekend. Not like an average, like I think when you do the balancing out of just the result, it would be an average weekend because they did so bad in reload that it's like, I don't even know if they qual next time qual comes around, right?
I mean, they got ninth. I mean, it's bad, but I guess NA standard's bad, right?
Ninth is halfway in reload, you know?
Yeah.
It's just
That's true,
20
yeah.
teams, you know?
Small number, though. It looks cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't sound as bad.
We got top 10.
It's top 10, guys. Come on. But yeah, I do think the weekend leans slightly good just for those two extra factors.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the point of splitting, I wonder if they can even split because of Gen G contracts. Like, are they just signed as a Gen G duo and they can't split? Because I think Kingaling and his duo apparently split for Reload already, which was like the academy team that got signed. So I wonder if there was even an option for that. I would say I think the Richie slander, is still fresh in people's mind a little bit. Like, people are shocked that Richie can even win the tournament. Like, he's got no hands, bro.
Yeah.
How can he even play the game without Peterbot there to pick him up? It's impossible. This Richie slander is some bullshit. Enough is enough. I'm a Richie fan, bro. King Richie reigns supreme. So it is nice to see him sort of prove that and get out of that shell so that people stop the Richie slander. Is Kinch about to pull up the stats to say that he got carried by Ajers?
Just
that's what it
interested
looks
to
like.
go and see tournaments, people he's won tournaments with, and it is all sorts. He's won with Yonsei, Buga, Peterbot, Cold. I mean, obviously these are all good players, but he's not going to play with
maybe it's the
rubbish
Richie
players.
effect.
I mean,
he wins with everybody.
Yeah,
I share this anecdote every single time I get the opportunity for the past year, but every single time I have personally gone to watch Ritual before a lot of the Peterbot stuff was going on, almost every single time I was just in awe of how insane of a player he is. And so, like, it's hard for me sometimes because I hear the way people talk about him as a player and I'm like, that just doesn't align with what I've watched of him. He's just, I mean, like, people almost make it seem like he's not in that elite tier. Yeah, he's not contributing and he's not in that elite tier of NA like players when like he very, very comfortably is. Like, very comfortably.
The fact that Peterbot and Cold and whatever started playing with him at all clearly
That should
indicates
tell you
that
a lot.
he's in that
Yeah.
even if he had have stepped behind them, like, he's in that tier at the top.
People have that idea that he wouldn't be an FNC's winner, I guess, without those teammates, which is a little bit ridiculous. So, yeah, I don't like the Richie slander. It's nice that he's able to prove it once again that he's doing well, even though he's won tournaments before. For me, again, Reload, it's not really that much in my mind. So I'll give it like a B- for them. I'll put the in between, but I'll put a little bit. I'm a classical man. Like back in my day, we used to walk 30 miles to school type of vibe. Like, I fuck with the classic battle royale. None of this TikTok bullshit. Even unless unless they're trying to sponsor me to
see, look, and this is why, and people will sit on the stream and cry and say, "Why does Epic hate me?" Like,
I'm joking. I like the approach we're going to Epic. It's great things.
Yeah,
you guys are both getting paid by the broadcast, so you have to be a little bit more positive. Let's be honest. I'm falling for this propaganda.
You don't have to viewing party it.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I do want to
because you get paid from your viewing parties.
Yeah, but like not to the. I can be a little bit more honest about it, about like the truth behind Reload here. Now, I'll be honest, Reload actually surprised me how fun it was. The first 2 games were boring as hell because everyone was playing like a bitch. After that, people realized, I can die. And my game isn't over and I can get fraggy. And then the games 3 and 8 were insanely fun.
NA even more as well. NA
even more,
fights.
Wants me. So I actually did enjoy it a lot more. So, but I do think in terms of weighing like the value of a tournament, we had this discussion last week. Like, are we gonna look at EWC as like, are we putting in the Twitter bio? Like where are we rating this for dope conversations and things like that? Because we're stuck with it for the next 3 years. So that is still a very interesting conversation we can have. But I'll put a B- because I valued the battery vibes here.
Okay. I respect that. Back on EU, maybe an easy one or a more straightforward one. Shark and Teeny. Now, I want to ask you your grades for Sharkantini, but I also want to know from you guys: do you think the results are real? Now, what I mean by that is,
The voices
of
in my head
course,
say so.
the voices in your head. Of course, the results are real, as in they got first in Reload and second in Div Cup. But are you using it as a strong indicator to say to you that these guys will be FNCS winners / contenders as the year progresses? So give me your grade, give me your thoughts on their weekend, and then the additional follow-up at the end. Your thoughts on that?
You're saying are we buying into the TikTok hype basically of Sharkantini? This is a discussion that I have quite a lot with my chat because people always like, "Boop, but do you think he's going to win an FNCS this year?" And I think, unfortunately, we've had this period of growth and peaking in a period of tournaments that don't really classify as important, right? Like Victory Cups, Unreal Cups, things like that. Similar to Sky and Score, you could say the same thing maybe. It's hard to put a number on it because when the big tournaments happen, that's when the big boys also show up. I will say they're a team that does show their cracks a little bit when it comes to surge lobbies. There are opportunities and situations where it does come down to them being 200 below surge and they have to go crazy. Or, unfortunately, on the other hand, it relies on Shark having to pull out this insane solo clutch as a 14-year-old GOAT, We saw that a little bit in Reload and in Battle Royale this weekend, and Levin smiling for some reason. I don't know what he's trying to pick up here, but I do think that in terms of duo, I think Shark is picking up quite a lot of the weight in the end games. At least it was a lot of solo clutching. I think it was 2 or 3 solo clutches in Battle Royale, and Reload it was a good amount as well. So that type of playstyle, we've had that before. I can't remember exactly what duo, but we've had a duo before. Well, we've had the discussion because it was just the solo clutching a shit ton and then just going crazy. It's like, is that a consistent playstyle that you can have going into FNCSs and that type of format? And it's not really something that you want to rely on a lot of the time. You want to rely on good strategy and making it to endgames as duos.
That's what people used to say about Malibuca's trio with Ping and Wox a lot last year before they had the major where they won. They were like the best team by far. Like before that major, I remember everyone was always like, it's always just like one of Malibuca, Wox, or Ping's clutching every time, And people are like, this can't work.
So that's always a big question for those type of situations. I'm not putting down Tini or anything, but that was pretty much the sort of the weekend is how many points can Shark clutch in the end games. With that being said, I do think they're confidence teams. We had the doubt for Tini in chat before, and they proved it wrong once. Tini knows how to play these lobbies, and they'll figure it out again. It just can they continue being confident? Mentality is the biggest thing for this duo. If they win tournaments, they win solo cash cups, they win Eval Cup games, which, funny enough, is very important to Shark, as he cries about it all the time. Then, with that momentum going into an FCS, then I think they could be a contender for sure. And then a grade, I'll give them an A because they have some things to improve on still, but it wasn't a perfect weekend, even though they got first and second.
Okay. Kinch?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously an A or an A plus. I'll go with, I guess A because they were quite far behind Sky and Scroll in the Div Cup. Not really challenging for the win in the end, but oh well. Second on EU, it's pretty good.
Pretty decent.
Yeah,
to be fair though, Tini did crash game 1, so that was one factor. But I forgot.
Like winning FNCS we've got to remember it's harder than last year because it's duos, right? There's only going to be 2 winners each time, and there are so many good players on EU that we would all put in the hat for potentially winning one, and we know half of them aren't going to win one this year because there's just not enough winners possible. But like, can they
outsource
win?
them?
Can they win? I think it's unlikely, but possible.
Okay.
I think they're good enough to win. But yeah, like Boop says, like some cracks, some inconsistencies. And I just find it hard to believe that they're just going to come first like that. I don't know. Like Shark obviously had a big breakout last year, but didn't really produce in FNCS finals the way that people expected, I guess. They were already ranking him as, a top 3 fighter in EU. Why isn't he coming top 5s in FNCSs? I just looked. He came 22nd and 22nd in his 2 finals. Not good. On the other hand, you have Teeny, who
Wait, he
turned
got
up.
22nd and 22nd?
That's what my numbers here say.
Wait, he got 22nd, 22nd, and then in last chance qualifiers, he gets second, second, second. Hold on a second. Wait a second.
Wait a second.
The numbers.
So guaranteed
shit, I
second
never
or
noticed that.
22nd. On
Damn.
the other hand, you got Teeny, who just like, was it his first, Stefan? Was it his first? No, was it Chap's first? It was Chap's first.
It was Chap's
yes,
first.
that came
Yeah.
second, wasn't it? So Teeny also took a few FNCSs to get something, but he also just went straight up there to second at one point, and I think that could happen here too. Like, if things go their way, they're going to be in the top 5 easily. But I'm nervous about them.
The Surge also doesn't lend itself to their playstyle as much. If it was old Surge, I'll be a lot more confident, I'll be honest.
I don't even need to speak anymore because Boot basically just said everything I was going to say.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, the only reason I asked this question was because I wanted to get an idea of where you guys are at, because where I'm currently at is, had we had the old Surge and you asked me this question, I would have said, I'm a believer. I'm fine. I had early Shark stock, right? So I've been on the Shark stock from early, but I didn't reinvest when everybody jumped in on the bandwagon. Like, I just held back. I was like, I've already got some in there. I'm not going to invest. I would be saying to you now, I am now finally putting in a bit more. The stock's quite high now, but I'm just, as you do. And I will say that confidently, especially about Shark. When I watch Shark now, I'm like, okay, the hype was there. I am finally seeing now more of the elite performer in more important competitions that wasn't quite there before. Unfortunately, when I watch how this Surge plays out, and we haven't seen what the Surge will look like in a major final, but when I try and imagine what it may look like and map how they are currently playing the game to that, I just think there's too many question marks and problems and potential plot holes that will mean they are too often in situations that don't allow them to be successful when those bigger competitions come. And so, for me, still a bunch of question marks. Their performance over this weekend, though, I think is... You both went A+. I'm leaning towards A-. And the only reason for that is just because in the Div Cup, there were games where like they struggled with Surge in ways where I was like, there were just micro decisions that caused them problems. Like, the reality is, you talked about the gap, right, in the Div Cup, Kinch, which that's how it ended. But going into that game, it was close and like they were in contention, and it was like a matter of who of those two teams is going to have the big game. The zone pulls all the way towards the north. Like, it was a favorable zone for them. It wasn't a favorable zone for Sky and Scroll. You would have never been able to tell that had someone dropped you into 5th zone and like said, these are the two teams competing for the win here, right? It's like one team clearly had a better game plan to play out that zone and play the game out compared to the other. And so I'm a big fan. I think Shark and Teeny look good. I want to see more from them. I think I'm going to park the bus on them being a true contending level team until we see a bit more. Back over to NA. And I want to ask you guys about your thoughts on... Well, it's weird, I can't really do this one. I guess it's just like rapid because they didn't play the Div Cups, right?
Yeah.
But I want to ask you guys about Rapid, because obviously he won with Cold. He was playing with was he playing with Reet and then he dropped Reet? Who was he playing with in BR? He was playing with Reet and he dropped Reet.
Yes,
for Canada
Vico
now.
dropped,
Yeah. So he was playing with Reet. I don't know how they did in Div Cup. Did they even place? They came 5th. Okay.
Yeah.
So they came 5th after he won with Cold the day before, and then he drops Reet for Canada. Where is Rapid at? Because Rapid stocks in NA are incredibly high right now, and he's been doing incredibly well. But with him, when grading him, I feel like there has to be more of a consideration of his scenario, like the position he's in, rather than just the results. And where I currently stand is, even with the Div Cup 5th, Rapid has had an A+ weekend for me. He wins playing with Cold, qualifies for the LAN, and now the stocks that are already high are just at peak level. Like, unfortunately, my boy Veno is in a position where the second he now plays with Cold, every single performance is going to be scrutinized, right? Every single performance is going to be scrutinized. And if it's not Veno on Code, it will be Ritual and Ajers, maybe less so because of the whole Genji thing. I actually hadn't considered that when we were talking about them earlier on before. But just anybody good, it's like, mainly it is just Cold and Veno that like has to be a problem, which I hate to say because obviously I want to see those two do really good. But I think this weekend went almost as perfectly as it could have gone for Rapid.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I would say. The Div Cup doesn't matter that much now. The performance itself doesn't matter that much now. He's not with the same person. He's now with Canada. I just looked at the results from Div 1 Cups this week. They won day 1 first, and then came 200 and something on day 2 because they had already qualified cumulatively.
Classic, yeah.
Just messing around. So really good start for them, just winning the first day immediately. Yeah, I mean, it's basically just 2 wins in the 2 tournaments he played properly.
Yeah.
It's got to be an A+, basically. He's back with Canada, who obviously got previous with in trios. They played a lot together, right?
They did.
Yeah.
Which ended pretty
settled
poorly for them.
Yeah, they did badly while trading Surge at LAN. Let's just call it how it is.
Yeah. And then Canada went on stream and full team blamed Rapid and made it seem like Rapid was the problem. And now somehow we're just back together. Everything's good, guys. It's Fortnite. We all forget
That's how
what
it is in
we say about each
Fortnite.
other.
You can call whatever you want about someone and it'll be okay. You know, as long as there's money to be made. So
Yeah. Like the Div Cup just didn't matter for Rapid because unfortunately for for Rapid, Reet was clearly just always a stepping stone, right? And so it's like it was just always angling to try and get a better teammate. And in Canada, he got what he believes is a better teammate. And so it's just like, he qualifies for LAN playing with somebody else's duo partner, and everybody wants to play with him who is looking for a potential option. It's just perfect.
you just gotta buff controller players, man. You know, we gotta get the controllers better aim assist, console FNCSs and everything. You know, but yeah, I feel sorry for Reet. I do wonder if there's a world where Rapid and Cold play together in BO if Veno does badly. It's like you don't want to wish it upon Veno, but there's a world with the Rapid stocks looking good and having the proven formula already. So there's a lot of pressure on this this next upcoming weekend of Div Cups there for them. I mean, 5th is decent, especially with a duo that you're not really committed to, I guess. At this point, I'm sure Canada already knew he wasn't playing with Orc, you know, even after the weekend. Like, Orc just got thrown to the side. I'll give him an A-. I think the result in terms of doing well in reload was decent enough. Battle was slightly less, but, you know, they made with what they had. It's funny. I wonder why these pop-offs happen all of a sudden. Because obviously Rapid used to play with a guy called Batman Booga. You know, not sure where he is now. He disappeared from now. But Batman Booga, I mean, this guy called Higgs just came out of nowhere as well all of a sudden. And he kind of popped off in a similar manner, like kind of out of nowhere. I mean, I'm joking, obviously. I know it's the same person. Funnily enough, people sometimes don't understand that. But Higgs kind of had that progression as well. Like, he was kind of mid after duos with Rapid. They were really good in duos, and then Cheers was kind of mid, and then all of a sudden had this massive growth. And now Rapid has sort of the same sort of character arc. I always wonder where that comes from all of a sudden. It's like, is it just like, does it just make sense? Is he just playing the game more, or is there something more to it at this point?
Two things. I am gonna run with the whole Batman Booga and Higgs being two different people thing, and I'm just gonna like not acknowledge that. I know, yeah. Like, I'm just maybe not broadcast, But I'm gonna like make, because on top of now the Sky and Scroll stuff, now I want to make a video about Rapid, and in that video I am gonna act like Batman Booger was a completely different person, and just see how many people get rattled in the comments.
And he died, unfortunately.
Yeah, like he sadly passed away. The disappearance of Batman Booger. You know?
Where is he now?
Where is he now? But when you look at that duo, right, when they had the great year where they obviously went to globals and like they looked good, and they were in the triangle of Surge or whatever. What was it called? This triangle of doom or whatever.
The Bermuda Triangle?
The Bermuda Triangle, yeah, there it was. Look, when that dude was doing really good, a lot of the credit obviously went to Rapid, and then he obviously had like a really great end to that year because he was playing with Bolts. Who was it? It was like Rapid, Bolts, and someone. Cold? Was it Cold? No, it was,
I wouldn't know. I'll be honest.
it was a while ago, yeah. But it was like they were like a really good trio, and it was like the trio who everybody said was going to be competing with Peterbot, Canada, and Acorn when that was the trio, right? I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe Kinch will find it. Pollo, yes, it was Pollo Rapid Bolts, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so like since then, like I feel like Rapid has had that like elite level status and like that great rep, and I remember. Just when I'd speak to other pros about him around that time, everyone just was talking about Rapid as like one of the best IGLs in the region and in the world. He obviously had a bit of like a weird year in NA, but I think a lot of people did, to where like, again, I think for him, his one is a bit different from that than Higgs. I almost call him Batman Booger again. His one's a bit different from Higgs.
No, he's dead. Remember that.
My bad. In that, like, I think Rapid has just been really good for a while, whereas Higgs has clearly, in my opinion, had the recent rise. Like, I feel like Higgs has finally caught up to Rapid as far as like the trajectories that they were both on after they played duos together. But yeah, I feel like those things are always quite harder to tell with like IGLs or people who are leading and maybe not as like fraggy, which is kind of weird because now Higgs is having that now that he's the IGL. But anyway, Fortnite, bloody hell. Rapid, good weekend for him. Very good weekend in the office for him.
Not bad.
Not a bad one. Not a bad one.
One.
The final EU team I will do before we wrap up today. I have to get your thoughts on them. And I know this one might be a bit close to home for you, Boop.
Oh dear.
Vico and Malibuca.
Oof.
I don't think it can get worse for a team as far as like expectations versus reality. It might have been the worst weekend we had. It's weird because it depends on where you fell regarding Reload. There was a lot of people who seemed to believe that even being contested by iDrop and Marius, they were still just going to have an amazing weekend in Reload. My good friend Reese being one of them, which is why I wish he was here today for us to gloat and like flame him, because he gave that take on the broadcast, and I was like, no man, there's no chance that they do good. And then obviously they go into BR, they're uncontested as far as I remember, and it just wasn't great. And I remember there was a couple games where you're watching it and they're like getting pooped on by, was it Druxies? Like Druxies is just like bossing Vico.
I think it was Sadie. Yeah, Sadie and someone.
Yeah, Sadie and Druxies, I think it was. And it's like they're just getting bossed by those guys in 1v1s. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, how is this happening?
It was a painful one. Vico was in my chat and he was like, after like game 4, I think, of Reload, he was sending me anime TikTok edits. You know, he was pulling the power. He's like, "This is me right now, Boop. I feel the plot armor." Fortunately, they had a bit of a comeback. They had a decent game.
Yeah,
but
they started winning off Spawn a bunch.
Yeah, but it wasn't great, and unfortunately, they just fell short a little bit. And then, you know, the day after, you expected that comeback arc in Battle Royale, and then I think it was like the double punch in the face for them both there. Maybe a little bit of a reality check or something. I'm not sure, because I know Vico and I speak to him a lot, and he had confidence. He was like, Boop, I'm so excited to play Div Cups and tournaments. Like, me and Malibuca are going to win everything. Like, their spot is broken. He's looking primed. I love Malibuca as a duo. You know, you can tell that they had good vibes. Like, they're a fun duo to watch because they have great chemistry. But unfortunately, it just didn't work out. And I don't know exactly why it didn't work out. They have the makings of everything in a good duo that you expect. You know, a great fragger, a long-standing IGL, both committed and motivated to work. But for some reason, it just doesn't seem to click right now. a little disappointed because I thought this was going to be the EU duo this year. Like Vico was, primed in duos. Malibuca, shitty trios season, sweeping on the rug, but in duos he was looking one of the best IG or Fraggy type of players of EU as well. But yeah, I don't know what they need to do. I liked that yesterday in the Div Cup they went into it with like fake good vibes. You know what I mean? Like. It's this poppy type of playstyle where you like you're over the top freaky and weird and kind of nasty and like oh my god you're so good, yes, there's a lot of profanities in there as well, and that was great. I think they obviously spoke to someone and they've auto-viewed it, but then in opens it wasn't perfect still. Like there's still things to do there. So I'm really hoping they do well, not only because I like Vico as a friend, but also because I expect this duo to do well, and I think they're one of the EU's better duos that we currently have, because it doesn't feel like that we have a lot of them currently. But unfortunately this weekend, considering their expectation and then also the results, got to be probably an F at this point. Like I have very high expectations for them, so they broke my heart this weekend, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're strange because when I look at them as a duo on paper, it should work. You have Malibuca, who has just a long-standing reputation of just doing well and success, and it's like he's just not fallen off for the longest time.
Yeah.
And you have Vico, who obviously, at the top of his game, but you have to remember when Vico had his big blow up and pop off, right, playing with Flixie after playing with Pink, one of the biggest reasons why he ended up being as good as he was the element of finally playing with someone who like empowered him to just be himself and just like lean into just being the crazy fragger that he was. And Malibuca in many ways, like on paper, is an IGL who sort of allows his players to do that as well, right? When you look at a lot of the success Mustache ended up having with him later on. So on top of that, even just personality-wise, like, I don't mean this in a bad way, so hopefully if he hears this and he gets upset with me, he understands this comes from a good place. But I feel like Vico is a personality that needs to be managed at times, especially when you just just go and watch like some of their YouTube videos of their tournaments and maybe you'll get an idea of what I mean. Like, watch a couple of their end games and maybe you'll get what I mean. But I look at Malibuca and his personality, and I'm like, I feel like Malibuca's great because like Malibuca, I feel like can just handle a lot of like the quirks that might come with playing like someone like that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, this should just work. Like, they should just be really good. However, they're both so good that if the results continue to not match, the best solution is just to split. Like, they're too good to have those types of results, both of them individually. I don't know what both of their options would be because it is kind of weird in EU right now, I feel like. But yeah, I don't want to be the one to be like they should split, but I'm just going to say it in a nicer way. I'm just going to say if the results just keep on looking similar to this, then they probably should split because they're too good to have these kind of results and performances.
Does it warrant a snakening for EU if they do split? Like, is there going to be some freaky teammate swaps?
What would the options be like? That's what I don't know right now.
Flixie Chap, like, do you think they're underperforming right now? In Reload, they kind of, I mean, they made it, right? Oh, no, they didn't make it.
No, they didn't, but they were close. Yeah, they should have.
And then they've been calling Mumsy Sato, and it was 3-3 against Mumsy Sato, which I think, if you're looking at over results, you're not really expecting. I mean, Mumsy's looking fucking
Mumsy and Sato are
He's looking
good.
like the best player, one of the best players right now. But yeah you want more out of a duo there. So
I don't know if any of them.
Just give that Flixie Vico, man. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them do. And so if he's not playing with Flixie or Chap, like who is Vico playing with?
Reason.
No. I think it's too early to talk about them splitting personally. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking amongst themselves, of course.
I mean, Malibuca just got signed to big.
True.
This is horrible.
True.
Like, I'm not concerned at all about like their reload performance. Sure, like give them an E for it. It was terrible, but I'm not concerned like long term for it.
Yeah.
Because they played well together through the rest of reload. Like, that's an indicator that they can handle reload together. That they came 10th in opens, first in play-ins, and first in heats. Like, that's as good as anybody. Yeah, they should have been able to do well contested at Slurpee because it's a giant POI and it's reloads, you can respawn. For some reason, it seemed like them and Idrop and Marius didn't have or wanted to wipe the other team off the game, right?
Yeah.
They could have had a definitely not prearranged agreement that they wouldn't push that hard at each other. You know,
No one ever does that. Come on.
surely not.
Teaming in Fortnite, never heard of it.
Like you get
And
one
to be
of
fair,
them, and
you
then
know,
they were pushing each other in the 2v1s really hard, and always one team
Yeah.
was getting wiped pretty much. That didn't have
To
to
be fair,
happen.
there was more than one team there.
I was
as
literally
well.
going to say,
Yeah.
to give them a bit of grace with the off spawn, a lot of the ones we watched on the broadcast at least, it looked like it wasn't a 2v2. It was a 2v2v1v.
Pablo in there for some reason,
Yeah,
mate.
like there was
Pablo on
always
top.
some weird stuff going on there that I felt played against them.
Yeah.
But even
Yeah.
still, then it just
So,
wasn't
you
good
know,
enough.
once it was always at least one of those teams going down, and I know it's Vico and Malibuca, they're great, but Idrop and Marius are also brilliant fighters. So it's going to be 50-50. It goes down approximately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it didn't go Malibuca and Vico's way. And what is it? I'm just looking at it now. 3 out of 4 games. The first 4 games, 3 out of 4. And then the other game in that first half, they didn't have a good end game. So they were just dead last after halfway through, and they obviously tournament over. When they
Yeah.
when they made it off spawn, obviously pressure's off. They were just fragging out. They got a ton of elims, won a lot of fights together. Never won a game, but yeah, I'm not really concerned. Another tournament they'll have on con, or they'll just play off spawn in a better way, and they'll be fine. And then Div Cup is disappointing, but early days. We'll see whether they pull the plug or not.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think that's fair. I think there is still hope in life because I do think just on paper it should work, and they have had some good results. So hopefully they stick with it and figure things out. Look, we talked about 8 different teams there, and I'm sure there's plenty more people want their thoughts on. But let us know in the comments below what your grades would have been for the teams that we and players we graded, and some of the other teams that we didn't quite mention, right? I'd love to know people's thoughts in the comments on how Chino and Pablo did this weekend. They've had a bit of an interesting one. Mumsy and Sato's one that got mentioned. Acorn and Bolts. Let us know in the comments what you think about these guys. Also, big shout out to our Spotify listeners. People who don't know, we post a podcast on Spotify, so you can listen to it there if you want to. But also, we have video on Spotify now, so you can actually watch the video of the podcast on Spotify. I know people on Spotify have been asking for that for a long time. And so, yeah, you can finally see our beautiful faces even on that green app. Anyway, goodbye. Love you.